Hi guys, welcome back to, I guess, part 3 of the window album version 1. So today we're going to be working on pages 3 and 4. So we're going to be working on this page and this page here. So what I want to do before we even start with the construction of both pages, page 3 and page 4 both have an acetate pocket on them. So I figure we'll just do those both at the same time. And then we can move on with the rest of the construction of page 3 and 4. Okay, so let's start with the acetate pocket for page 3. So these measurements are all going to be in the cutting guide listed below. There'll be a cutting guide linked to my Etsy shop below. But I will give you the measurements as we're going here. So this is a piece of your heavy black cardstock that measures 3 by 7 1/4. And on the 7 1/4 side, you're going to score it half, and at 6 3/4 or just ½ inch on both sides. And then on the 3-inch side, you're just going to score it ½ inch, okay? And so we're going to leave this pocket like this for now. All right, so then you are also going to need 4 strips of your pattern paper. So whichever pattern paper you pick, that measure, two of them measure 6 by ½ inch, and 2 of them measure 2 1/4 by ½ inch, okay? So 2 that are ½ inch by 6 and 2 that are ½ inch by 2 1/4. All right, so then you are going to need a pair of scissors. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up our little strips of pattern paper just like this. And we're going to take one long piece and one short piece, and we are going to put them together corner to corner like this, like we always do. And then you're going to take your scissor and you're going to cut from this corner up to that corner, okay? So right through the middle, just like this. All right, and then the same thing over here. So the same long piece that you just did, but the short piece from the other side. Just put them together and cut up here. All right, and then we'll do the other long piece and the same short piece that we just did. And you just turn it however it's convenient for you. All right, and then we'll take our long piece and our short piece that both should already have an angle cut out of them and cut the last angle. Just like this, okay? So our pieces should look just like this. So let me get my little ends out of the way. All right, so it should look like this. All right, so now you need some like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch score tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this whole thing over to the back, but make sure they stay lined up. All right, with the ones they were cut with. All right, then you're just going to get little bits of tape like this. Put them together on their corners. Put a piece of tape. And then the other side as well. Just make sure you get them nicely lined up. They should butt right up against each other. And then we'll get this long one down here. Just like so. And then this final one here should just come right together for you. All right, so your little frame should look just like this. So now we're going to get our cardstock piece back in our actual pocket. And we're going to layer it on here so that there's an equal black border on all 4 sides, okay? So first thing you need to do is remove these backings from your tape that we just put on, because these are only meant to just tack it in place for the time being. All right, then you're going to need glue. I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac because it is movable. It's a slower drying glue. And I'm putting it all over the back of my frame. Just like so. All right, now I'm going to pick it up and flip it over. and put it right on top of my pockets. Just like this. So again, make sure you're leaving an even black border on all 4 sides. All right, then I'm going to press that down. Then you're going to need a piercing tool of some kind, and then something you can poke into. So I'm just using my foam mat. And what I'm going to do is in all of the corners, I'm going to poke a hole about a 1/16 of it, or in between the 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch down from the corners. Okay, so just like this. And this is just going to give our knife a place to naturally stop when we're cutting out the middle here. So you're going to see my little holes. Okay, so now I've got my metal ruler and a craft knife, and we are going to just cut from hole to hole. Okay, so cut here first, and then you're going to pick it up and you're going to see that cut, and then I'm going to cut from that hole to this hole, and your knife will just naturally stop when it gets to the next hole. All right, and then the same thing here. And then the final one here. All right, so now we have our hole all cut out, our middle part. So now you need a piece of your acetate that measures 6 by 2 1/4. And I've already added my 1/8 of an inch score tape, or 1/4 inch, whatever works for you, to my acetate, and I'm going to remove the backings from it and just add it to the back of my frame, being very careful not to go over any of my score lines. And that creates our little acetate pocket. So now we can go ahead and cut across our corners. So right where those 2 score lines intersect, you're going to want to cut right below that. All right, now we can go ahead and burnish these so that they're ready to go when we need them. All right, so there is our pocket for page 3. So let's create the pocket for page 4. So for page 4, the cardstock, the heavy black cardstock measures 4 3/4 by 5 1/4. On the 5 1/4 side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, and at 4 3/4, or just 1/2 inch on both sides. And then on the 4 3/4 side, you're just going to score at 1/2 inch. All right, and then the pieces for the frame measure 1/2 inch by 4, and you're going to need 4 of them. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the exact same process that I just did to do this pocket. Okay. All right, so I've got that center hole cut out. So now we have a piece of acetate that measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And again, I've just already added the tape to the back of it, the score tape. And now I'm going to remove the backings and place it right on here on the opening of our pocket back here. All right, now we are just going to take and again, just snip these corners, just like so, and then fold and burnish our score line. All right, so now we'll just lay these pockets aside for when we need them. So we're working on page 3. So for page 3, we need another base page. So it measures 8 1/4 by 7 3/4. And on the 8 1/4 side, you're going to score at half and at 1. And for now, we are just going to burnish the 1-inch line down, just so we have a flat surface to work on. All right, so before we can do anything else, we need to attach a piece of pattern paper to this. So just grab a piece, whichever one you like, from whatever collection you're using. And it's going to measure 7 by 7 1/2. And I am going to use my Faber-Tac for this. All right, just like this. And give it a nice burnish down. All right, so then on top of here, you're going to need 2 pieces of your black cardstock, so your heavy black cardstock that measures 6 1/4 by 9. And then on the 9-inch side, you're going to score at 4 1/4 and at 4 3/4. Okay, and you're going to do that for both pieces. Then we can go ahead and, so it's going to leave you with a 1/2 inch little kind of spine in the middle like this, okay? But that's going to get folded down, so you can go ahead and burnish that down. All right, and then the same thing for the other one. Just like this. All right, so then what is going to happen, let's just straighten these out. What's going to happen is this one is going to get glued to the top here, just about like this. And then the other one is going to get glued to the bottom here, just about like this, okay? So you're going to try to make sure that you have about a 1/4 inch space here, and then it's centered side to side, okay? So I'm going to get my glue on just this little 1/2 inch section here. That is all, just the 1/2 inch. All right, and then I'm going to glue it centered. All right, and then you can give that a nice burnish down. And then the other one is going to go at the bottom here. So I'm just going to kind of slide it under this one and make sure that it lines up, because you want them to line up perfectly. So this time your little 1/2 inch is back here still, but then it's going to open from the bottom versus opening from the top. So again, we are just going to add our glue just to that little 1/2 inch section, just to there. And this is kind of what I call a modified waterfall. And then we can burnish that down, just like this. So you can open it up and burnish it from the back as well if you need to. All right. And then this flap here, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to put these 2 up and just kind of burnish them out of the way for a second. So this flap here is going to come down and stay there. And then this flap is where our acetate pocket is going to go on. So this is our longer, skinnier one that we did. It's going to go right on top of this flap, okay? This 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 flap, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and just add glue to the long bottom piece of our acetate pocket. And of course, if you don't want your pocket to be acetate, you can just go right ahead and just do the the pocket itself, and then you can just mat it with some pattern paper or a cut apart or whatever you'd like. And then I'm going to add glue to these two little smaller flaps here, and then bring that up just like this. All right, and then you can burnish it on. All right, and then for the inside back of this flap, you are going to have a piece of your pattern paper that measures 4 by 6, and it's just going to slide back here to mat this. Make sure that you're aware of the direction. If your paper is directional, mine is, so I'm going to make sure to have my little alphabet blocks going the right side up. And it's just going to slide right in here behind the acetate pocket. I almost made the mistake there. Just like that, and then you can burnish it. All right, so then this piece is going to stay down. This one's going to come down. This one's going to come up, and this one's going to come down, okay? And then on this top flap here, you're going to have a mat that measures 4 by 6. So we can go ahead and put that on, just right onto this top one here. And of course you can continue and mat your other pieces, but we're definitely going to be putting photos on there, so I don't think it's necessary to mat them. So we're going to have an insert in here to keep this whole section closed. So that insert measures 5 3/4 by 6 3/4. All right, and then on the top here, we are going to have a mat that measures 5 1/4 by 4. So I'm again just going to use my Fabri-Tac to put that on. So it's just going to go across the 5.5 inch width of our insert. So right here. All right, and then for down here, you're going to have a piece of pattern paper that measures 5.5 by 2 3/8, and that is just going to layer right in here like that. Nice black break in there. All right, that's going to go just like this, and then that is going to go in here to keep this whole page closed. So this insert will come out, and then this will flip up, and this will flip down, and this will flip up, and this will flip up, and then you still have room for a nice large photo back there. And then the insert goes in to keep it all nice and closed. So let's work on page 4. So the first thing you need is your black, heavy black cardstock flap that measures 7 1/8 by 7 3/4. And on the 7 1/8 side, you're just going to score 1/2 inch. And then we can go ahead and miter our little 1/2 inch flap. So just cut from the score line out, don't cut into the score line. And then we can burnish this, and it's going to get attached right along this side. So we have our page flip over, and the hinges are on this side. Our flap is going to get attached along this side. So just use your glue or your tape, whatever you're comfortable with, and just put it only on that 1/2 inch hinge, and just line it up right along there. We can burnish it down. All right, and then on this side here, so the side by the hinges, we're going to have another flap, but I want to go ahead and put our pocket on here, our other acetate pocket that we created before I attach this. So this flap measures 4 3/4 by 7 3/4, and on the 4 3/4 side, you're just going to score 1/2 inch. And again, we are going to miter these. So we just cut out from the score line and down diagonally. We don't cut into the score line. And then just fold that up, fold it over. All right, just like so. And then we'll attach our pocket right on top of here at the bottom of it. So this was our like little bit taller acetate pocket we created And I'm just putting glue at the bottom of my flap here. And again, you can pick it up and arrange it how you need to. Then you can burnish it down and then open it up and burnish the bottom. And then we can add our glue to these flaps here. And bring it up. And burnish it. All right, and then we'll start with this flap for our mats and layers. So for this top flap here, to go inside our pocket to mat the back of the flap, you're going to need a piece of your pattern paper that measures 4 by 7.5. And I'm going to grab my Fabri-Tac. I'm just adding glue all over the back of it. And again, if this is directional, be careful. And I'm just sliding it right in behind there, just like this. All right, and then this pocket's going to have an insert. So your insert piece measures 3 1/4 by 7 1/8. Lightweight white cardstock that measures 3 1/2 by 5 1/2, and it's going to go down here. So we're going to layer it into the bottom. So just get your glue and layer it towards the bottom, or I guess at this point it really doesn't have a top or bottom. And then we're going to have a piece of our pattern paper that measures 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. And what I'm going to do is take my scissor, and on the 3 1/2 side, I'm just going to do a little snip, like a tag, on both sides, and that's going to layer right here. So I'm just going to glue it on there. So I've got my Fabri-Tac there for that. And I'm just going to glue it right here, just like this. All right, and then I'm going to just cut across here about the same distance as the rest of my black border. So just like this. And then this insert is going to go right in here. So stinking cute. All right, and then to keep this page closed, I'm going to use a magnet. For the girl version, I just did a little swing tab closure. So all I did is I took one of the little stickers from the sticker sheet and I put it on white cardstock, and then I fussy cut around it. And then I simply took that cut apart and I placed it on here, and I poked through and I put a brad through that. And then I did that before I matted my back. So the brad back is under here, the opened brad. And then that's what created the swing closure here. But for the boy collection, there are no cut aparts. There is a sticker sheet, but none of them really make sense for this. So for this, I am just going to use a magnet closure. All right, so I've got my magnets right here. So I'm just going to put one kind of closer to the edge on the back of my pocket flap. So about right there, not too far from the edge. And then just put my tape over top of it. Then I'll take another piece of tape and I'm going to put it upside down, and I'm just going to let that snap to it and then just close it up there. So that'll be the closure for this page. All right, so now that we have the magnet on, we can go ahead and layer the back of our 4 1/4 inch flap and the front of this flap here. Okay, so right here we have a 4 by 6 photo mat, and then up here we have a piece of 4 by 1 3/8 of pattern paper, and then down here on this side here on the larger flap, we have a piece of pattern paper that's 3 1/2 by 2. And then we have a white mat that's 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. And then we have another white mat that's 3 by 4. And then we have a piece of pattern paper that's 3 1/2 by 3. So I'm quickly just going to glue this all on. All right, so now for inside this flap, this large flap, we're going to have on the main base page, so this is like the main base page under the flap, we're going to have a photo mat that is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and this is the lightweight white cardstock. Then we'll have one that's 6 1/4 by 3, and then you're going to have a strip of your pattern paper that measures 3/4 of an inch by 7 1/2. Then you're going to have another 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 photo mat on the back side of the large flap we attached here. And then you will have a piece of pattern paper that's 6 1/4 by 2 1/8. And then you'll have another piece of pattern paper that's 6 1/2 by 1 1/8. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue all of this on. All right, so that finishes up the matting of the whole inside. So this is going to close up like this, and this is going to close down like this. So this is your page 4, and then we also did page 2. So in the next part, we will do pages 5 and 6. I hope you guys are really enjoying this series. I absolutely love the colors in the boy version. And then we've already done page 1 and page 2, so they look absolutely gorgeous together. But I hope you guys are enjoying this little series. I am for sure. I absolutely love the colors in this. I will see you guys all again in part 4.